This is another one demo where I will work with our own web applications and our own web APIs, which are configured to the Azure AD B2C identity platform. Right now, we will see how it's possible to use something like single sign-on for a couple of our web applications. So first, what I have here is a web application which talks to this web API. Let's verify its configuration. This app is configured with a Microsoft Identity Platform for Azure AD B2C. Let's find this configuration in our Azure portal. So in the B2C configuration, in the app registrations section, I do see my test demo web app with ID equal to 098. Zero 9A is configured to talk with web API with following API prefix salute demo API in scope of data read. Let's verify our web API registration. Demo web API. This is our salute demo API. It exposes an API with two scopes, data write, data read. Okay, let's start our API first. Run project. And then start our web. Seems web API doesn't want to start. Okay, it's already in use. Okay, it seems I need to. It means that it's already started. No problem with that. Okay, what about demo web API? Oops. Let me start the web project. I believe I already have an account, so what I need is just to log in with previously created user, like that. Get my password. Provide two-factor authentication from my authenticator app configured for that account. Like that. And I successfully signed in to my demo application with a wrong username, okay? And I can get data from the API. So here I'm logged in into one test web application. Let's see what we also have. We have another one web API, this one, It's absolutely different web app which talks to its own web API. This web app is configured to use the same tenant. Let's wait for this app to be ready. While it's thinking, we can open our application registration plate. So this is all apps in the B2C tenant. Here we have to do web app. Let's open this app registration information. This A29. Let's verify what we have. What we have here, web app. Here is configuration. The same domain, the same tenant. Client ID is A29. A29. What we also have is web to do web API. This web API has client ID 5D0. Let's verify it in our configuration for the web API. This is startup. We read this configuration section. Here, client ID 5D0. This web app and web APIs, they use the same tenant, the same domain, the same sign-in, sign-up policy ID. What's different is a scope exposed by this API. Let's verify exposed APIs in the Azure. So this one has to-do API URI and only one scope. Okay, so we have couple web APIs, couple web projects, and now let's start all of this. Run API first and web application second. Let's wait for it to build. Okay, API is almost ready. Let's wait for its Swagger window. Yep, this is to-do API. For sure, this API is secured by the Azure identity provider and isn't possible to invoke directly. But when we start our to-do web app like that, we will authenticate in the app, obtain token for the API, and we invoke to-do API with access token for the request scope. But the interesting thing that as soon as we already logged in our first application with a test user, what should happen is we're not required to authenticate once again in the second to-do web app. Let's verify it. Let's wait for the web app up and running. Here is our web application for to-do scope. Here it redirects to the identity platform. This is my front end for the to-do web application. I am already logged in with my previously provided credentials in the different app. And what I can do, I can invoke my to-do web API from here in scope of my wrongly named test user. What I can do, I can sign out here. Okay, I'm signed out. It also means that I am signed out here. I believe it will not be possible to invoke. Yeah, exactly. So I am signed out from the platform and none of the web app are able to make API calls or display a user interface. So this is single sign in, single sign out for the Azure B2C. Thanks.